Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So I'm doing another loaded pickguard wiring setup today. This time it's an HSS pickguard, and I'm using Invader style pickups, Fleor pots, a Fender 5-way switch, Fender knobs, and a few extra parts including my normal cloth wiring. This ought to be a quick video today, but I wanted to get this set up for an upcoming build, which I think I'll be doing to support a guitar program in a local school. At any rate, let's get started with some assembly. The pickguard, knobs, and backplate were all Fender parts and donations from a viewer named Mike, so thanks to him for those. I've started here by installing our switch as well as our 3 pots. I usually install the switch with the plate side facing outward. Then I'll install the switch tip and I'll go ahead and install the humbucker. And while I don't show it here, I did have to enlarge the humbucker screws on the pickguard just slightly to get these screws to fit. The single coils, however, installed with no issue. But as usual, dealing with those little springs can sometimes be a pain. And after all the pickups are in place, a couple of zip ties are used to keep all the wires running down the center of the pickguard. Alright, with this particular pickup set, the one with the red wire is actually the neck pickup, yellow wire is middle, and of course the humbucker and the bridge. I'm leaving the slack on the humbucker just because I really don't want to have to shorten that wire, and it is a fully shielded cable already, so I don't think it'll hurt to have that there. So the first thing that I always solder whenever I'm working on a series of pots is the volume has a lug that goes straight to ground. So I always solder that one first, but I'll go ahead and insert a couple of wires into that, which would be the ground wire that's going to connect all 3 pots, which I have stripped in the middle and on both ends so that I can ground all 3 of these with one wire, and then the ground for the output jack. Alright, now we just need to put a little solder on those. One of the things I've found as I've been working with the Fleor pots some is that they take solder very well. So all these ground connections that get made on the backs of the pots are very easy. Okay, next we're going to wire in the cap, and I'm using a yellow axial mustard cap. It's a 0.047. That's the value that's recommended by Seymour Duncan, and even though these aren't Seymour Duncan pickups, I think it's probably a pretty good choice. Alright, now let's run a wire for the output jack signal. And then I'll go ahead and give these wires a twist for a little bit of shielding. Alright, next I think I'll do the tone controls, and I'm going to use yellow wire for this. There's no real reason for that, just what I had on hand. I'm going to wire this like a typical Strat, where the middle tone control is for the neck pickup, and the rear one is for the middle pickup, and there is no bridge tone control. Alright, I'm going to finish this side of the switch and make this connection to the volume control, but I have to make a bridge across both sides of the switch first, and then that wire runs to the volume. Okay, at this point I really only have a couple connections left to make. I've got a bridge ground that I need to solder into the back of the volume pot here, and then I need to make the rest of the connections on this side of the switch for the pickups as well as the pickup ground on the back of the volume pot. There's a lot of trimming involved in this process, so I'm going to go off camera for just a bit while I get the grounds for the pickup situated on the back of the volume pot. Then I'll come back and make some more connections. Alright, so probably not the most easy thing to see at the moment, but I'll definitely get you some still pictures of all this work whenever it's done. For now, I've got all the grounds twisted together, all sitting on the back of the volume pot. And of course I've got my pliers holding it in place. You gotta do what you gotta do to hold those things down. And then because the bridge humbucker wire, the hot wire anyway, is the finest of all the pickup wires, I'm gonna solder it first, and I just want to be really careful around it. Okay, and now I've routed the 2 pickup wires and trimmed them to length. And then last thing is going to be the bridge ground on the back of the pot. And you'll notice that I've already tied up some of the wires for all the rest of these connections. And again, I'll show you a still picture of all that work, but it's really just a small zip tie, and it's pretty difficult to get a photo of while I'm doing it. Okay, and then the last step with all the wiring done is going to be to put the knobs on the pots. Now, even though these are imported pots, they are the 24 spline imperial sized pots, and I have the corresponding Fender knobs. And I always like to install these so that the 10 is facing the player. Alright, well that's it for this HSS pickguard, but you'll see it again in an upcoming project. I thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you for all the likes and all the comments. Thanks for the subscriptions and for visiting my Amazon links. Be sure to check out the Hacks Guitar Hobby Facebook group, and all that information can be found in the description. So thanks, and I'll see you guys next time.